Hello guys, good evening and welcome to interview preparation session by 360 DGTMG. So today we'll discuss some of the interview questions regarding Python. Yesterday we have been gone across some of the questions regarding data science, right? So today we'll see some more questions regarding Python and their management. So as of the day, as of now, the first question for the day is how is memory managed in Python? How does the all the memory elements were being managed in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. Now as we look into this, how this memory is managed in Python. Yeah, Python. Python memory, it basically manage and handles memory management in Python. Okay, this basically manages the memory management in Python, and the memory is allocated by the manager in the form of private space, private heap space for Python. Okay, it is being allocated by the memories has been allocated by the manager in the form of private heap space for the Python. All Python objects stores in the heap are very private. It can't be seen by anyone. They are very private, privately secured. Hence, it is an inaccessible to be programmer until the time Python provides some core API functions to work upon the private heap spaces. So until the Python helps us to provide such kind of API functions, we can't use those kind of functions which we have been kept as in the private store. This is how the Python stores its memory, and it is stored by the manager within a private heap space, and which is very private, which is kept very private. So as we jump into the next question, what are Python namespaces? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, what are Python namespaces? A namespace is nothing but it is a kind of feature in Python which makes sure that an object name in a Python are very unique, which means they are very different. Each one shouldn't be combined with each other and can be used without any conflicts. Okay, so these namespaces as dictionaries are also called as name as, and there are mapped to a corresponding object as well. This allows for multiple namespaces to use the same name and map it to a separate object. This is how Python namespaces are used for. And as we jump into the next question, how many Python namespaces are there in Python? How many Python namespaces are available? So if anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. As we look into this, how many Python namespaces are there? There are three types of Python namespaces, and there are local namespace, global namespace, and built-in namespace. So as we jump into the next question, what are Python name? Why are Python namespaces are used? So if anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Now, as we look into this, why are this Python namespaces are used? So, as this local variables, there are three types of namespaces, right? Local, global, and built-in namespaces. So, the local namespaces are temporarily created for a function call, and gets cleared at the time when the function is written. As we go with the global namespaces, these global namespaces are created for importing packages, the type of script, and last till the time executed of the isn't complete. So as we jump into the built-in namespaces, this includes the built-in functions of core Python and built-in names for various types of exceptions. So as we jump into the next question, what is scope in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Now, as we look into this, why this scope is used in Python. Basically, a scope is nothing but a block of code to determine any relevancy of Python objects we use. So Python namespaces, these are basically identically all the objects inside a program in a unique in the same way. Although Python namespaces also have a defined scope where the objects can be used without any prefixes. A few examples of scope created during the code is Python. Okay, as we jump into the next question, what is scope resolution in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, please bring in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer in a minute. Now, as we look into this, what is scope resolution in Python? This scope resolution is an essential in a type of using of variables to determine the possible sources of the value. So this scope resolution in Python follows the Legbe rule. So what is that Legbe rule? So Legbe rule. L stands for local, E stands for enclosing functions, G stands for global, and B stands for built-in function. So local. It basically these are the names assigned in any way within a Python or Lambda and not declared globally in the enclosing functions. Name in the local scope of any and all statistically enclosing functions from inner to outer. Global. Names assigned for the top level, very top level of module files or by executing a global statements in a def within the file. B. Built-in functions. Names pre-assigned in the built-in names, modules, open, range, syntax error, etc. These are the scope resolution in Python. So as we jump into the next question, what are decorators in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. What are decorators? Yeah. As we look into this, what are decorators in Python? Decorator. A decorator is a sign, a design pattern, and which is used in Python to allow the users in terms of adding new functionality to an existing object without modifying its structure. It goes on adding some new functionalities without changing its structure way it is. Usually, these decorators should be called before you define a function. So what are lists and tuples? So if anyone knows the answer, please bring in that box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. So as we look into this, what are the list and tuples? List and tuples are sequence data types of Python, and they can store a collection of objects. The objects stored in both the sequences can be different data types, as well as we jump to the next question, what are the differences between the list and tuples? So if anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, what are the differences between this list and tuples? List, lists are some kind of there are some kind of mutable, i.e., they mutable kind of objects, which means they cannot be edited. Whereas coming to tuples, tuples are immutable objects, which means tuples can list which can be edited. And lists are very slower than tuples, whereas tuples are faster than the list. Each has its own representation. The representation of list is with square braces, and the list of this tuple is with parentheses. So as we jump into the next question, what are Dict and list comprehension? So if anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer again. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, what are the Dict and this? Dicts are nothing but the dictionary, just like decorators and Python comprehension are somewhat this tactically sugar construction, which might help in building and alternating and filtering all the list dictionaries or set of some given list dictionaries or set. So while using this comprehension, the user saves a lot of time and those types of codes that might contain more lines of code. So as we jump into the next question, what are the common built-in functions and data types in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. Now as we look into this, what are the common built-in data types in Python? So there are several built-in functions in Python. Some of them, I've just mentioned some of them. There are several number of built-in functions in Python. Some of them are untype, numerical, sequence, mapping, set, modules, collapse types. These are all the built-in types which we use in Python. So as we jump into the next question, what is Lambda in function? In Python, what is the Lambda function in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, can please ping me in the chat box and I'll seeing those answers and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. Now as we look into this, what is this Lambda function in Python? So Lambda is an anonymous function in Python that can be accepted a huge number of arguments. It can accept very huge number of arguments while having only one single expression. And it is mainly used in situations that demand an anonymous function for a very short time of period. Okay. So as we jump into the next question, what are shallow copies and deep copies? So if anyone knows the differences between them and definitions of each other, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Now, as we look into this, the shallow and deep copies, shallow copies. Okay, shallow copy is a bitwise copy of an object, which contains an exact copy of the values in an original object. It just contains an exact value with some original objects. So, if either of the values is a reference to other objects, the referred address for the same as well as will be copied. So as coming to the deep copies, this deep copies all values on a loop from source to target objects. It is also capable of duplicating the object refers by the source object. So this is how this shallow copy and the deep copy works on. So as we jump into the next question, what are the modules and packages in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah, as we look into this, what are the modules and packages in Python? These modules and Python files that have an extension of .py and capable of having the sets of functions, classes, variables, and defined with some implementation. And they can be imported and initialized where the user uses this important state. As coming to the packages, these packages allow the hierarchical structures of all the modules, including the namespaces. They also includes the namespaces regarding this hierarchical clustering and structuring with the help of a notation called dot notation. So the way modules help avoid clashing between the global and local variables, and the packages avoid clashing between the module names in the same way. So as we jump into the next question, what are the advantages of modular programming in Python? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, what were the advantages of this modular programming? So modular programming have several advantages. So among them, the simplicity is one of it. Simplicity, maintainability, reusability, and scoping. These were the major advantages for this modular programming. So as we coming to the simplicity, it basically works on a single module and it helps to focus on a small portion of problem to handle. So this makes development easier and there is a rare possibility of errors. So as coming to the maintainability, modules are designed to enforce some boundaries between the different problem domains. Hence, they can't impact each other. Reusability. Functions defined in a module can be reused by other parts of the application. Scoping. modules defined in separate namespaces. It helps to avoid some confusions between the identifiers from other parts of the program. So as we jump into the next question, what are the libraries used in Python and what were the importance of them? So name any sum of them, like 4 to 5 of them. It must be fine. And if anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box. We'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, some of the libraries are NumPy, Pandas, NLTK, TensorFlow, and this NumPy is used for scientific computations, whereas Pandas are used for tabular data. This NLTKs are used for text processing, and TensorFlow is used for deep learning. This is how these are only some of the libraries which we use in Python and their purpose and importance. So there are n number of libraries in Python, NumPy, Pandas, Scilern, and TensorFlow. So there are a number of libraries. These are only some of them. So as we jump into the next question, so what are the differences between arrays and lists? So if anyone knows the answer, can ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, arrays, what are arrays? Arrays in Python, they can contain only some kind of data types. I.e., should be in which must be in the form of homogeneous format. Okay. Whereas coming to list in Python can contain elements of different data types. The list, the data, the variables which are present in this list can contain different data types, any type of data types, and the list can be homogeneous. Okay, whereas arrays can be homogeneous and lists can be heterogeneous. So as we jump into the next question, what is the concept of Boltzmann method? So if anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box. If else, we'll discuss within a minute. Yeah. And now as we look into this, this Boltzmann machine, it is nothing but a feature. It is used to a simple learning algorithm and enables the features which represents very complex irregularities present in the training data. The simple learning algorithm, it involves in a Boltzmann machine, which is very slow in network, then have many layers and features to detect. So as we jump into the next question, What is the full form of GAN? And explain about GAN. So if anyone knows the answer, can bring me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, the full form of GAN is Generative Adversarial Network. So explain it. So what are the tasks should be done by this GAN? So it should take the inputs from the noise vector and send those or forward those into a generator and then to discriminator to identify whether the differentiate unique and taken input. So just to identify whether the differentiate unique or taken input. So as we jump into the next question, what are the important concepts in GAN? So if anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. Now as we look into this, what are virtual components in this GAN? There are two virtual components in GAN. Those are generator and discriminator. Generator. The generator acts as an forger which creates fake copies. Okay. As coming to the discriminator, it acts as a recognizer for fake and unique copies. These were the two virtual components in GAN, a generator and discriminator, and this is how they work. So that's it for the day, guys. Thanks for attending the session, and we'll meet in tomorrow's session. Have a great day and thank you.